Yes, 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 yes. Live 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 3 in the place to be. Rocking with Miss B and the Queen. What
What? It
bars?
was amazing.
Bars. Happy Wednesday. How are you?
I am doing well. If that question was directed at me,
Yes,
I
it definitely
do.
was.
Yes,
I'm not
you
sure.
were.
Wonderful. Yes, I'm good. Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me and us, representing the team today.
I like your lip color. I'm sorry, we're having a girl moment.
Thank you.
Happy.
You know,
Good.
Mac, the Mac. I have a thing for Mac.
It looks
Mm.
good.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Dope. We thank you so much for joining us here on the Unscripted Podcast. All talk, the vibes. I am one of your hosts, Sam Legacy Mo Weta. My other hostess. Did they say hostess or did they just say host?
You could say
Just host?
Yeah, host is good. I like
yeah,
host.
because like my sister, she's an actor, right? And she's like, just call me an actor. Like, she's like, don't call me an actress. You know?
I mean, like some people are very specific. They're very specific. I, however, am not. But when I think of hostess, I think of like hostess with the mostess. I'm like,
yeah, it's not it.
Are we at Ruby Tuesdays? So that's where my mind goes.
No, I got it. All right, so we have a guest. Before we introduce our lovely guest, make sure you follow us on YouTube, Unscripted Podcast, Twitch, it's Unscripted ENT. Of course, Instagram, as we're live, unscripted p.cast, Facebook, unscripted p.cast, and then on Twitter, because we're also live on Twitter, it's Unscripted PCast. Yeah, right? Just
all of them.
Yeah. And we're on TikTok, but we're not live on TikTok. We're just giving you little clips on TikTok.
We're getting there.
It's a vibe. So, as I said, we have the Queen in the building, and we're excited to have her here. It is super, super awesome, super, super wonderful. So, I'm going to just get right into it. Queen Herawin, you are a musician, you are a mover, you're a shaker, you're everything. So, the first thing I want to get into is the name. Like, what made you choose that name?
Great question. Shout out to my brothers, the Juggernauts, which is my group or our group together collectively. My brother Bruin actually, gave me the name. He gave me the name, and that was some time ago. My name used to. I've had a couple of names.
Okay.
It was Baby Boy many years ago.
Okay.
When I was a child. That evolved into P-Funk, and then that turned into not like Parliament P-Funk.
That's what I was thinking of. Hey! You know what I mean?
There's no comparison there. Yeah. My actual name starts with a P. I'm not related to Clinton. I wish I was, but I'm not. So yeah, but I am related to my brothers Breeze Bruin and my brother Kev Fever, which are the members of the Juggernauts. Those are my actual brothers. And so Breeze had given me that name. It was spelled differently for quite some time.
Okay.
And then I changed the pronunciation. The pronunciation stayed the same. I changed the spelling. We were having some experiences with like articles and interviews, and people were shifting it like, oh, peace, Queen Herawin, peace, Herawin. And I was like, nah, that's not what it is. And so I changed the spelling, which is interesting. And in retrospect, I probably would have kept it the same because there's some politics to that. I think why, based on what we were just talking a moment ago, the idea of host versus hostess, or actor versus actress. And so heroine is a female hero, but the connotation automatically went to something else. And so I made the conscious choice to change the spelling because of what was happening with the narrative in these articles. People were shifting how they were spelling my name comfortably, and I had a problem with that. So it has happened since. But we should be able to freely celebrate heroines for what they are, female heroes, as opposed to automatically going somewhere else that. And it can be addictive too, metaphorically, of course. I've used it in that context myself.
I know that very well.
Right? Yeah, but it's just interesting. As a society, we automatically do that instead of recognition of women in that capacity.
100%.
No, that's dope. That's dope. So please tell the world what it is that you and your group do, how long you've been doing it for, like what made you, kind of get into this realm of, being an MC and also a female MC on top of that. Just take us on some of the journeys.
Yeah. Originally from the Bronx. I haven't lived in the Bronx for quite some time, but originally from the Bronx.
Shout out to the Bronx.
Ex is always in the house, even if it's in spirit. I've lived in the Bronx. Had my child in the Bronx. I even taught in the Bronx. It's still home and always is. But yeah, so having an upbringing like that, obviously, that's going to influence who you are when you talk about hip hop. I mean, that's home. That's the home of hip hop. So at least originally, so the narrative says. And so a big part of my upbringing was just walking outside and hip hop being there on the blocks and hearing it, and then coming inside my home and having my brothers who are both older than me.
Okay.
I have a third in Jamaica. Shout out to my brother Mark. He does not do this. He's not into hip hop.
Are you Jamaican?
Yes. And
Yes.
Yes.
Yo, one more. Shot it up to blood. Boop, boop. Yeah. Lick shot. Boom. Nah, but I'm kidding.
So that was just a part. That was a major part of it. Just environment played a major role. After school, I was telling the story the other day. We would watch Bob Ross and then Video Music Box. And so hip hop is just a part of me, has always been a part of me. And that definitely was the foundation for creating a relationship with something that I loved and something that I lived. And then having brothers who were already doing that, being older than me, I was exposed to it firsthand. And so I would see my brothers writing rhymes. I would go to the studio with them when they were recording their first album, connected to Elektra initially. And then Babito. So, it's just always been a part of who I am and who I was and continue to be. And how could you not be inspired? And so from that inspiration, I just started, took the pen to the pad, and since then it hasn't stopped. It's just been a continuous. The saga continues. The saga begins like Rakim. So this just continues on basically.
Nah, that's dope. That's definitely dope. Whatchamacallit? So, you being from the Bronx, I know the main person when I think of the Bronx is obviously KRS-One. And with the whole beef with that other rapper when he came out with The Bridge Is Over and all that other stuff, like how did that influence you? How, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think I was way too young for it to resonate on a way that it was like, well, that's beef.
Yeah.
I understand that later on, and then as you understand that later on too, you understand hip hop and the idea of brushing your shoulders off, and nah, that's me, and nah, we the best. And, there's the ego and a sense of arrogance is connected to being an artist on some level.
Yeah.
Otherwise, how are you going to promote yourself? You have to think that you're that good or you're the best. I mean, the best MC, what MC doesn't have that in one of their rhymes at some point. So I think being that young at the time, it was more how the music resonated than the idea or the concept of beef. I just heard it and I mean, like, how could you not hear the bass and the drum and be like, oh, that's crazy. For me, it was more sound. It was more like the energy and the magnetism of what I was hearing, more so than understanding the context at that time. But I was drawn, I was pulled in. And so it wasn't so much about beef as it was about just more beef feeding me more food, like this is amazing. And I
To the
just
soul.
more. For real. And so it was just more about how it touched me on a soul level, for real.
Okay.
And it just moved me to want to hear more, know more, learn more. Yeah.
So have you collaborated with like any like well-known artists as of yet, or
Yeah, as we're talking about, as we talk about the X on our song, so Juggernauts, we have a project, our last album that we released collectively called Use Your Confusion. We did a collaboration with Slick Rick.
oh,
As we talk about the Bronx, and Slick literally
Nice.
that's
rocks it. So
fire. That's
we can
definitely,
very, very close.
definitely. Big hand claps. Big hand claps. Big hand claps.
The original storyteller, or certainly one of the most iconic ever. I saw him over the holiday too. I will continue to tell the story like shopping. We were shopping. I was like, is that Rick? So I don't know Rick like that. I'm a fan still, fangirl all day. But we do have a collaboration with him on that project is called Vows. And then talking about the X, we have Sadat. We have a collab with Sadat X in a different context. And so, we've been blessed. We've been blessed. And then, maybe there aren't as many high profile people, but we definitely have worked with a lot of different people over the time. And I say we as a collective, not just myself, but my brothers, Breeze Bruin. He did a project called The Prince Among Thieves with Prince Paul many years ago.
Mm,
People who know hip hop really know that project. I was blessed to be a part of, one or two songs on that, but that was a major, like an underground opera that many people, like I said, who really are advocates and know hip hop and are fans of the culture, they know that project because it was unique. Nothing really had been done like that up until
okay.
that time. So, yeah. So and on there was like Exhibit on that project, De La on
Wow.
that project,
Mm.
Everlast, Chub Rock. Like there were a lot of people on that one particular project. Um, I worked with Master Ace years later
Mm,
on a song called Mother's Regret on an album of his. So I think throughout time, we've certainly been blessed to work with different people of different calibers, but certainly all connected and rooted in hip hop, despite, how well known they are or not as well known, but certainly talents in their own right.
so let me ask you a question. With the current music, and I don't mind telling my age. I'm 40, and my little brother just moved in with me. Shout out to Aiden, and all he plays right is this
Lil Baby.
weird drill music, and when I tell
Oh,
you,
yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
aggravates my entire core because it's not like Pop Smoke. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Pop Smoke had
Yeah.
like his voice, his cadence. You know what I'm saying? And his ad libs was crazy. Oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
like he had like
Love
the
Pop.
ill perfect, ad libs here and there. And I'm hearing like a lot of these dudes, and it reminds me like of a bad version of Onyx, because Onyx would like, yell and what I'm saying, let the boys be boys. That's what I grew up on. But like, so I get that yelling aspect, but like it just there's no cadence. You know what I'm saying? There's no
Yeah.
like, it was all a dream. I used to read Murder Magazine. You know what I'm saying? Where you could predict it.
The times
Like,
have changed.
it's and not in a good way. I'm not.
In a
I'm okay
very
with.
different way.
I'm
Yeah,
okay with
yeah,
change. But like when I can't make out what you're saying, it just sounds like
Yeah.
they're rambling. So my question to you, as I go on my old man rant, right? Um, how do you feel about this style or new form of hip hop per se?
I mean, I think like anything else, when you're talking about art and creativity, it's going to web in different directions, despite the root. Like it's going to branch off. That's any tree. And some branches might be a little bit thicker and more solid, and fruit will come from that, or more fruit, and some might be thinner and kind of straggle off, but it still comes from the same place. So I think, I'm not going to take away from them being artists in their own right. I will say that I don't listen to enough of it
Mm,
Yeah.
to really give enough of a critical and accurate or fair critical feedback. I
understood.
do I do think that you said one word that to me immediately popped in my mind when you were formulating the question, which is clarity. I think
Yeah.
it's not that cadence isn't there. I think cadence is there, rhythm is there, flow is there. Clarity, I think it's clarity over cadence. So
Mm.
yeah, it's like what are they saying? And maybe you can kind of pick a little bit here and there. And I think there's stuff that's connected as to why it's not as clear. Not just maybe part of it is style for
Yeah.
them. I think part of it is also possibly, I might go on the limb and say it's connected to a lot of the things that are coming out that I wouldn't say are rooted in the culture, but definitely connected to stuff of that generation as far as
Mm.
things that they might be dabbling with. And
Okay.
I'll just leave it in a generalized way like that. But I think that I wouldn't say that it's trash. I would say that I don't listen to it enough to really critique. I will say I don't listen to it enough to critique. I think that there have been other eras before this one connected to hip hop that maybe were not our favorite either. And
Mm.
so it's you get a batch of, I'm gonna stay with metaphor and analogy if you haven't seen that. You buy a batch of strawberry. Every strawberry in there is not going to be amazing. It's not going. You might have to toss
Mm.
one, two, or maybe you have to take part of it and just segment part, and you salvage some. So I think with something like this, artistically and or musically, you might have to salvage what you can salvage, and then what you toss, and that's for any art form, not just hip hop. And I think about certain artists with not knowing the clarity of what they're saying, but it's some of the best work. James Brown, sometimes you didn't know what the hell James Brown was
Mm.
saying. Sometimes,
It's a man's
sometimes if you
world.
want there and say like mumbled style rap, and he was definitely spitting. So some of the stuff he was saying we weren't clear, but the beat was hidden. The energy was on point, the cadence and the rhythm was there, and so he's an icon, right? And so there were words. You're not gonna go back and be like, "Yo, James, what did you say bar for bar?" Every single word. You respected him because of who he was. Now, does this deserve that same level? No, I'm just
Mm.
making a parallel. Same for D'Angelo. Some stuff D'Angelo, I love D'Angelo,
Mm-hmm.
one of my
Mm-hmm.
favorite artists ever. Every single word in every single song, sometimes no, because you just get into the rhythm and
Yeah.
it becomes spiritual what he's doing. And
Yeah.
so some things you can clearly hear, and some things you can't. Now, the real question is, if everything was clear, are you saying something?
Mm.
Now
Mm-hmm.
that's the real question, because I know with D'Angelo and James Brown, if you slowed it down, stopped it, clear, they would be definitely saying something that resonates. I think it's more about clarity and being able to hear the content versus nothing at all. So I think it's cadence versus clarity for me on that.
No, I understand.
Mm-hmm.
You had.
So the question I had was when you are, uh, writing a song or a verse, like I've always been fascinated with that because I love music. So how does it kind
Mhm.
of work for you, I guess? And like, how do you get inspired? Because I've like heard of like a musician's block where you're like writing a verse and then you kind of just like stop there and you're like, all right, think. And it's like, how do you get inspired? How do you write a song? I find it so interesting. I cannot tell you enough. Like it's
Yeah, I
people who
find
make
it
music
interesting
are.
too. That's a great question. I find it interesting too. I'm real fascinated by the process of things, and for me, it's interesting because my brother and I avid writers, but there's definitely some distinction with how we approach. So Breeze can write a whole verse, have the concept, and then choose a beat. I mean, it doesn't always happen that way for him, I know as well, but he can do that. I've seen him do that. I know of him to do that.
Yeah.
For me, I kind of work in the reverse traditionally, meaning I prefer to hear the beat
Mm.
Yeah.
and be inspired by the beat. So inspiration from me often comes from that. And so I'll hear a track, and then from there I kind of get the little rhythm, the bounce, and it has to hit me. If it doesn't hit
Right.
me on a soul level, I'm like next track, next track. Like if
Yeah.
I'm listening to beats, I'll give it a little time, but if it doesn't catch me in like the first 5 to 10, 15 seconds, traditionally I'm on to the next one because it has to feel away for me.
Right.
And then when I do connect, then I'll just sit with it. I'll sit with the track. I love playing music in the car. It gives me like quiet time to just
Mm-hmm.
ride and rock out to it.
Mm,
And then from there, I start to hear melodies. Sometimes I'll hear a hook, or I'll hear a couple of first lines or bars or words that'll just start speaking to me. And then from there, I'll formulate it. If I did have a preconceived idea, like with a concept,
Right.
sometimes I may not have the lyrics yet, but I'll be like, oh, that beat fits that concept. Yeah,
mm,
that works for that because the tone and the mood is right. And then I'll work on developing the lyrics. So it varies, but traditionally for me, it really involves the marriage with the track. I have to really love it. I have to kind of fall in love with it.
yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what's crazy? Because I'm a musician. I don't know if you knew this. I sing, I produce, I also rap, right? But it's,
Okay.
I think for me, right? Like, you know, when I make music now, right? It's not how it was when I was younger. Because when I was younger, like, I thought I was Usher. You know what I'm saying? Like, listen, like the glide, the pop lock,
Oh
you know what I'm saying? Like to this
my.
day, I'm still like, and then when Chris Brown came out,
Is a
it
wrap.
was just, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and I agree with you as far as, I agree with you as far as the creative aspect. Cause now, like, cause since I make a beat, I want to see where the beat is taking me. Like,
Yeah.
what place am I going and everything else like that. The thing that I feel about today's music, and it's on all genre,
Mm-hmm.
right, is that I feel like everybody is just doing it to try to sign a record deal. There's
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
like, coming from the soul, like,
Mm-hmm.
I have a story to tell and this is what it, because that's what, especially hip hop, it was a self expression, like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about this is what's affecting my community, and then
Right.
you had, somebody like LL Cool J who, his name alone was fire. To this day, that's
Literally.
the firest name I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
Ladies love Cool James. For those that didn't know, that is fire,
Yeah.
right? So you have this different side. I need love, and when I sit in my room,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. So it's like it's cool, but I feel like a lot of these dudes now they go and they spend all this money on like a music video. They'll go rent a car.
But
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
so like this is what I'm thinking. It's like when you have people around you and you're like, yo, you got to hear this verse. Are they keeping it real with you? Like, you could change this or that? Or are they just like, yeah, that's great. And you're like, you're thinking that it's something that it's not. And then you put it out in public and it's like,
Well, for me,
like, I don't know how it works. Like I always like thought about that. Like, all right, if you have like a verse, like, or if let's just say like your brother came to you and was like, yo, you got to hear this. And he's going on, and you're like, and he's like asking for honest feedback from you, and you're just like, like has that ever happened? Actually, has that ever happened? I don't know. Like, I just feel like people sometimes their environment they don't keep it 100. They're not like, all right, like that was all right. Let's change this, add this. I feel like everyone's just like yes, 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 and then it's on the radio or they're just like on TV, and I'm like, what? And we don't
Yeah,
even live in that.
house. Yeah, we definitely will be like, nah. I've had my brothers like,
Mm,
nah, that could be a little bit
yeah.
stronger.
yeah,
When I was starting out, even though I probably was doing a little bit more than my brothers realized I was doing at the time, but I always wanted to make sure my verses and what I was writing was strong regardless. But it was definitely like a boot camp too.
Mm.
that's
I'd
great
have
honesty.
yeah, my brothers would be like, "Yo, Kev used to say, yo, you got to be able to rhyme to a beat sped up. Like he
Mm-hmm.
before that was kind of a thing, and put something like faster. And I remember us doing stuff, and he's like, "Yo, you got to be able to rhyme over beats that have words. Forget just the instrumental because otherwise it's gonna throw you off. Kind of like basketball. If not that I play, but if you on the court, people talking, smack, you
Mm-hmm.
can't let that throw you off your game. So it was
Yeah,
very similar the concept of you got to be able to even write, rhyme, practice rhyming over something that's not always an instrumental, so that you kind of stay focused on line. So I think there were different techniques, but it was always about sharpening your sword,
Mm-hmm.
always, and having those conversations, and they can be uncomfortable, and many days they were uncomfortable, but I think that makes you a better player, a better artist, and things along that line, until you can get to the point where there's a good sense of confidence with what you're doing. And so you may take in information, it doesn't mean
Right.
that you're going to use it to change your craft at that point. Maybe in the beginning, it can help to mold you by giving you guidelines for someone who has wisdom and experience in the field. But after that, you don't want it to influence you to the point where you don't have your own voice. That's the dangerous part, right? So you take it in like any other form of education, and then you decide what to keep and what not to keep.
Mm. Yeah, I
Mm.
respect that. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
for me to answer that question for myself, luckily, um, I have really, really great friends that are quick to crack jokes.
Yeah.
You know what I
Oh,
mean? Like
right.
quick to flame. Like,
Yeah.
so if you attempt to come with some foolishness, just know, like, they
Yeah, I
gonna
gotta listen to this.
no, they're gonna light
That
you
was
up.
horrible.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, bro, throw that
That's trash.
immediately in the trash, and then they're gonna let other people, yo, come and listen to this shit.
Oh
That
my.
shit garbage. So you
Right.
you trying to
Tough love.
avoid,
Oh
getting your
my
feelings hurt, but
god.
Right.
it makes
Right.
you better. It makes you better, and if they love you and they care for you, they're gonna tell you,
Right.
hey, bro, this ain't it. And
Yeah.
like
This is enough.
as an artist, you have to take, constructive criticism. Now I say constructive because then there's people that might just be out there hating because you might have let
Yeah.
1,000 people hear it and they like, yo, this is fire, and then you let that one so-called friend that's supposed to help you and they over here like, that shit garbage.
Yeah.
Damn, bro, every track I bring you is garbage. Like, it's crazy. So
Yeah.
I have a few questions from IG. Luckily I have my iPad next to me, so I was able to look at what's going
Okay.
on IG.
Cool.
um
Cool.
Big shout out to Maria joining on the IG. She said in any
Yeah, shout out
career,
to Maria. Yeah, keep down. Keep down the
you know what,
instructions.
big, big, big,
I hit
big,
her up like 50 times. Like,
word.
Maria, so how's it gonna happen? She's like, I got you.
Yeah,
Jesus.
she's the woman. Big, big horns for Maria. You know what I'm saying? They should have never gave me these sound effects.
Ever.
They should have never gave me
Ever.
these sound effects ever. But now I got them, so it's over. You know what I'm saying? But she said, in any career you have yes people around you, you are doing yourself a huge disservice. And then she says you learn and elevate yourself from criticism and never look at it as negative. And then she said all good, and she also said very, very welcome. Big shout outs to the queen herself, Miss Maria. Maria,
Yes,
Maria. So
absolutely.
here's the question: where can we find your music? Like, are you on all streaming services? Do you have a YouTube channel where we could watch some music videos? And
So yeah, there's a YouTube channel. I'm not on YouTube too much. I'm gonna be real with you. The best place to go, but you can find some stuff on YouTube. You type in Queen Heroin, you type in Juggernauts, and you'll find YouTube stuff. So that
okay,
as far as videos and things like that. So absolutely yes. Let me say yes to that. I would say the best platform as far as just seeing what's going on project wise, work wise, definitely have to chat a little bit and shout out the team, Hip Hop Education Center. So things that are happening, whether work related, music related, combination, Instagram is really the place to go for me. I'm not huge on Twitter. I keep saying I'm gonna do better on Facebook. I don't.
Uh,
So Instagram is really the main spot to find me, as far as just reaching out for anything. And then as far as the music related, there's a link when you go to the Instagram page, and that'll bring you to some YouTube stuff.
okay,
That'll also bring you to Bandcamp. So there's stuff on Bandcamp for myself, Queen Heroin, and then there's stuff on Apple. You can go to iTunes, any of the digital platforms, if you go to and you type in Juggernauts, spelled Juggaknots. So if you type in Juggernauts or the Juggernauts, you can go and find music on iTunes for sure. You can type in Queen Heroin and find music there as well. So YouTube, iTunes, any other similar platform of the like, and SoundCloud too. But I'm not really on there so much. More so iTunes and other digital platforms, and then of course Bandcamp.
Okay. So, my next question for you is, and I had to ask it. I'm gonna ask you two separate categories. Well, same category, but two separate genders. Who are
Okay.
your top five artists in general? I'm gonna stick with hip hop since you're an MC. Your top five female and male hip hop. I'm gonna ask you too, Britt. But
I had a feeling. I'm like already thinking.
Yeah. We gotta know. We gotta know. So since the queen is on, you know what I mean. Every time I hear Herawin, I think of that one line of Nas, Herawin in your nose. But it's crazy because you said heroin like a beautiful woman, and I'm like, yes, that is another name.
Yeah.
So but
that.
here at Unscripted Entertainment, you learn. Nah, but.
I definitely hate this question. I'll be very candid about that, because it's really hard to take as we're looking at 50 years this year of hip hop and talk about who was your top five. It's that's a challenge. But I will share some people that I really do love. But there's so many. That's what I'm saying. There's so
Right.
many.
Okay.
So it's really hard for me. I wouldn't say that I have a top five in either gender, as we're talking about breaking those stereotypes,
Okay.
and just thinking about it in a musical context. Um, I'll throw out names. Obviously, Rakim. Um,
Shout
obviously
out to Long
Slick.
Island. Big shout outs. Big shout outs.
Rest in peace, True Goy, as we're talking about groups as well. So obviously De La, obviously Black Thought,
Yeah.
obviously, Doom, shout out, rest in peace to
Yeah.
Doom. My brother Breeze Bruin, one of my favorites, as we're talking about MC wise, as we're talking about collectives musically. My brother, Slim in that first album, the Juggernauts album, amazing. Mobb Deep. As I think about Nas, I mean, Pun, Big L, like,
Yeah.
like Ella G, shout out to Ella. Like, I mean, there's so many people. And then that's just, I haven't even touched on, women. It's Cyrock, Rhapsody, Jean Grey, obviously the icons, Bahamadia as well. I mean, Lauryn Hill. I mean,
I
you
was
could
just
keep.
gonna
Funny.
say.
That's in my top five.
But there's so many names that people don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Eternia. There's people who are not, I guess, in the traditional, like the go-to, and it's like word. Rod Digger. You could just keep going and going. So
Yeah, big shout out to Rod Digger.
yes,
old school.
it's really hard. Yes, it's hard to just be like, kumbaya. Like there's mad, like,
Yeah.
there's so many amazing artists. Key Turner, like there's people who I'm working with now, Elize, like that people don't know, but when I think of people who I listen to and when I want to get inspired and turn on, Lady of Rage, like
Wow.
these aren't people that you're gonna be like,
I
oh,
get
word,
rough
Boss.
and stuff with my Afro puffs.
I listened to Boss. I was inspired by Boss growing up. Deeper was one of my favorite songs ever to listen to. So, it depends, I guess, on what it is that you might feel for the day. That's how vast hip hop is.
That's
Sometimes
facts.
I want to hear New York State of Mind. Sometimes I want to hear Temperatures Rising. Like it depends on, I think, the mood. And we have such a plethora of music that we can do that rather than feeling limited. So that's always a tricky question for me.
All right, you on.
I have a few artists in my head.
I need five. Just combine them. Just give me your top
Lauryn
five.
Hill,
Okay.
Rakim, Talib Kweli. Because I saw him live and I was so young and nobody was like, no. I mean, my high school was semi-diverse, but when I was there, I was like, no, I just didn't even know that existed. And I was like forever changed. I don't know. It was very like, my parents let me go. I was like 15. It was one of those kind of moments. And I was like, Talib
It's
Kweli.
big.
You know what I mean? I was like, and this is like the CD era. So I'm like asking my mom, like, Mom, you need to get the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Can you please go to Target? Like, so those are also like festivals. Like I'm thinking back, like, oh, there were a ton of festivals. Like these things just don't exist anymore. Who else? Nas. I remember watching. Oh my god!
Okay.
I
So we
saw
got
Nas.
Lauryn Hill,
Yes,
Rakim,
I go all day. Nas.
Talib Kweli.
Yes.
Who? You said Nas.
Did I say De La Soul? No, I don't think. No, I didn't say them.
You have one more.
My gosh.
Sorry.
Aggressive. Let me see. I mean, I was a Lil Kim fan.
Okay.
I really was.
I feel like she's the pioneer for a lot of rappers.
She was. I was young when she came out. I was like, wow, she's very different.
It depends on the era, but she's definitely an icon.
Yeah.
Definitely an icon.
I was like, she's doing whatever she wants. This is great. This
is
motivating.
Shout out to Shy-Rock, and women who were even before that time. So I think it's important,
Yeah. So
WD the other day I met for the first, so
that's fine.
Yeah.
Beginning of hip hop or in connection to women.
That's fire. That's fire. So for me, since
we're waiting. Huh?
Yeah, I know y'all waiting.
How can you get the extra stuff? What's that about? See, when you got control, right?
They should have never gave me sound effects. I'm a big kid. For you guys that don't know, I will never, ever grow up.
That's a
so
secret.
My top 5. This is not in a particular order, but for me, it's like I take everything personal. Like even with my daughter, I tell her like, is this benefiting you? You know what I'm saying? Like I ask her, is this benefiting you? How is this making you a better person? So the number one of all time for me, because it was having a father figure and me being aware of being black and just I have had a temper. You know what I'm saying? So the number one was for me is Pac, just because I just was able to, dear mama, I wonder if heaven got a ghetto. I should listen to that to this day, because when you look at, the social injustices that affect, people that look like me, you, and you, and everything else, you think like, Jesus Christ, this is, 30 years ago and it's still relevant freaking today. You know what I mean? And that's the unfortunate part, and everything else. And then for me, as far as currently, that he just made it to my number 5 because I listened to him religiously, is Nipsey. I listen to Nipsey violently. Like I'm in the gym, Nipsey. I'm driving, Nipsey, and I just get back into visualizing my goals and meditating, and you'll feel
that with him for sure.
Yeah, like and I get angry when I listen to him too, because it's like, bro, y'all took away Nipsey. You know what I mean? And I didn't even know him until he I didn't know him obviously, but
of course.
I didn't know about his music until he died. And it's the crazy thing. I'm like, I was more mad at myself, so but
like, how did this slip through the cracks? Like,
you know
this
what I'm
guy
saying?
is
unbelievable. And then you look at some of the interviews and like how he really wanted to empower African Americans and just tell them how to start businesses. Like I remember watching an interview, right, and how I think he was like selling stuff on the corner, right, in front of that whole shopping center that he owned, right, and the cops came and it was just taking everything and so forth. He like, yo, I'm not even out here selling drugs and nothing like that. I'm just trying to, do the right thing, sell it. Like, and the cop told him, if you want to do the right thing, then put yourself in a store. And then him and his brother like got together and they ended up buying that shopping complex, and he stayed there, just to, kind of give the people in the neighborhood like, yo, if I can do it, you can do it. You know what I'm saying?
So
like,
motivating.
So
inspiring.
Like crazy. So for me, that's number 3 on my list. 2, I should say, right? Did I say anybody else?
No. Yeah, you're at 2.
Yeah, I'm at 2.
Yeah.
And then Lauryn Hill, I again, it's something with that album, Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, which is a reference off the book Miseducation of a Negro. And just seeing somebody be so intellectual and just come across in such a fierce way, and not necessarily falling into the trap of being sexual with her music. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't anything like, oh, I'm gonna get naked, I'm gonna show a little, chest action to do whatever, I'm gonna twerk, and you know what I mean? And I felt like that was so real because, and she's so pretty. She's dark skinned, these beautiful full lips, just what black beauty symbolizes. You know what I'm saying? No weird blonde wig, or no offense to anybody that's wearing it. You know what I mean?
No.
But it's, to me, like, I just liked how that was just
natural and powerful.
Just
in
her
own skin,
hard body.
Now imagine being like a young girl, and you see that, and you're listening to her music, and you're like, what? Like, you cannot be real. Like, yes.
Yeah, it's fire.
It's amazing.
It's definitely fire. So I'm at 3 right now. Ooh, I could go on and on and on. But I think for me, just because, and I don't want to sound like the guy that's like, oh, well, you're from New York. Da, 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 da. I look at Biggie, just like listening to some of Biggie's lyrics, and just there's a lot of stuff that had a lot of red flags. I'm not gonna lie to you. As I'm older now, I'm like, bro, the fuck you put that in a song for?
How do you get away with putting that in a song?
You know what I mean? Like, yo, what you doing, bro? That's inappropriate. I mean, I think it's just more me being a father now, and the times, the times is a little bit more, sensitive to kind of like stuff like that. So it's like, I don't like. And then, right at number 5 for me is Nas. Same thing. It's and I really became more of a Nas fan. After Ether.
Oh.
Hard Body. Because before it was like, I always knew Nas. We always knew Fake Thug, No Love, We Get the Slug, CB Folk. We knew those.
Yes.
We knew, all those other stuff and the pop stuff that he had with like Genuine. Shorty, say what's your price? You know what I mean? Like that like we knew that.
Would you back it?
Right?
Sorry.
No, that's the jam. That's the jam. So with that being said, once, Jay-Z came out with The Takeover, and me being from Queens, shout out to my people from Far Rock, but now I'm a Long Islander. Shout out to the people in Long Island. Safe is better.
Long Island.
Yeah, I'm definitely a Long Islander. You dig? You know what I mean? But it's I think for me, once he responded to that, you know what I mean, and the way that he did with Ether, I was just like, yeah. Like, even though I ain't write it, like, I had to flex my chest on it, because it's like, nah, like Nas, I mean, Jay-Z disrespected on that Takeover track, like, I still play that track too, because it was just so good. Kanye produced a juggernaut of a track. When Jay-Z said, ask Nas, he don't want it with Ho. No. I was like, no. So,
oh my God.
Maria would like to know, who would Miss Queen say is a top lyricist in rap today versus back several years ago? That's a great question.
That's a really good question.
Who would I say that I listen to now that I'm like, oh,
meaning like they're better now than they were?
No, I think she's saying like, you know how like everybody does the corny basketball analogy. LeBron couldn't play in this era because it's so tough. Like, da, 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 da. So like, who would you say, is in this era that you felt would be able to lyrically, keep up with a legend like maybe Eminem or Nas or Biggie?
Yeah. I get
it
now.
That's
Thanks
a little
that.
brain one.
We
need that.
I think J. Cole.
Kendrick.
I think Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are other artists, but those two are standouts for me. And some may be like, who's after them. But for me, when I think
Mm,
of now, I'd still think them,
okay.
even though they've been doing what they've been doing for quite some time as well. But I would say Cole. I would say J. Cole. I would say Kendrick for sure. When I
Kendrick
listen
is.
to them, you can hear the resonance of MCs like Rakim.
Hmm.
You can hear the influence of artists. I'm not sure who their favorites are, but I definitely think, knowing, having been part of both those spaces,
Yeah.
I, I can hear, for me, I hear Rakim. For me, I hear Nas as people who may have influenced
Hard
them for
body.
sure. For me, I hear Big Daddy Kane. Like, I hear certain people
Ooh.
Oh
when
my
I listen
God.
to them, I hear the influence of those artists as foundational artists. And there's so many others, but I definitely hear that.
Mm.
So I would say those two. Those two for me, I think they could definitely hold their own
Nah, that's fire.
because of the foundation
Yeah.
that has influenced them.
No,
But
I
they
mean,
are who they are right
Yeah.
now.
you're absolutely right, and here's this is, I know this is no correlation, but that's literally what you said is my argument about like LeBron and Michael Jordan, because it's like you
Hmm.
get them all the
Always.
time. Oh, Michael Jordan, blah, 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 blah,
They
blah, blah,
love doing
right?
that.
And it's
Yep.
annoying. But the thing that the reason why I lean toward LeBron James is because of the evolution, the foundation. He can go back and look at video and see how Magic did it, how Larry Bird did it, how Michael Jordan did it, and kind of take pieces and implement that on his own game if need be. That's so what you just said, them having that foundation to go,
Yeah.
it's just the evolution of it. Now I'm kind of contradicting myself because I don't like today's music, but in a sense, like there's some stuff
Yeah.
I rock with, you know what I mean?
I
But
mean, I could say, just because I experienced it, Kendrick Lamar in concert live.
we gonna be all right.
Oh my! The whole entire UBS, whatever you call it, USB arena. It was vibrating like my chest. Like it was. He went into Die Hard, and I was like, just take me. Like I
Yeah,
was
the out-of-body
losing
experience.
it.
Yep.
It was the most crazy, but like awakening moment. Like
Mm-hmm.
his performance live, like what I was like, this guy is a lyricist. He knows what he's saying, the impact, the entire place. You couldn't. I was just like this. You could. It was unbelievable, unbelievable. It was, and this was recent. This was like last fall, September. Crazy.
My boy Teddy said, "Don't forget Q-Tip." Shout out to Teddy joining us
Okay.
Can never
on
forget
YouTube.
Q-Tip. So
No. Yeah.
that's why I rebuke your question because there's no five.
Yeah.
We didn't mention. There's so many people that still weren't mentioned. You know what I'm saying? Redman, like
Method
Common,
Man.
like we didn't
Method Man.
mention
Oh,
Meth.
Yeah. Hold on,
Who?
calm down.
Right?
I'm
He's
sorry.
married.
Get
He's
out of
married.
here.
He's married. He looked
I'm
better
just
now than
saying.
when he was younger.
And I have to say, when
He-
he was in Power, I was
Yeah, he
like,
looks better now. That's what I'm trying to say. Like
sure.
he has the nice goatee. He's
Yeah.
clean. He's more clean cut.
Oh my God.
Listen.
He's doing his thing.
That's how you're supposed to dress. Like a
Mention Cool G Rap. I'm sorry to cut y'all off, but Cool G Rap. How about that? Like,
Yeah.
there's just too many.
I believe Cool
there's
G
just-
Rap is like the first. I think he's also Haitian, and I believe that he's like the first like gangster rap.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Not a lot of people were doing gangster rap before Cool G Rap.
Wow.
I could be wrong. I feel like I'm not though. Like
I don't think you're right.
That's why to shout them out, and again, that's a big part of why I'm here right now. The Hip Hop Education Center. When we talk about hip hop and archiving, a shout out to Martha Diaz, the founder and chief curator. It's about doing the legwork too, and looking back and saying, well, who was the first? When you're
yeah.
talking about gangster rapper, who was the first to incorporate this style? Like, so preserving hip hop, examining hip hop, and studying it, and bringing forth fact based information for
Mm-hmm.
people to, study, because that's where this that's not where this is going. That's where this is,
Mm.
right? In addition to being an MC, I'm an educator. I've taught hip hop courses, so I taught hip hop in the States. I've taught hip hop through a program called Next Level in Peru and in other countries. Like hip
Fire.
hop is it's not
Fire.
this is not, this is not music. This is a lifestyle, it's culture, it's a lifestyle. And so when we're examining questions like this, it's important to acknowledge organizations who are bringing forth these conversations to say, well, let's really start analyzing and documenting,
Yep.
digging and documenting, because in another 50 years, when hip hop's 100, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, who were those people who did X, Y, and Z?
Mm.
And studying this not just on a collegiate level, but in regular ed classrooms, which is what is being pushed for and happening, but on a much traditional, normalized scale.
It needs
So
to
those questions
happen.
are really important. It
No,
is
definitely.
happening, right? And so it's the continuation of that, where all of these curriculum, which is my focus with the organization, my focus is curriculum there. And so it's about like really bringing these conversations to the forefront and having, the kids learn about information like this. Yes, the expression part for sure,
Yeah.
because that's a whole other part for them, for their own expression and creativity and communication, but also understanding that there's a real knowledge based foundation of
Yeah.
people who have done work here in this culture.
I have two questions for you.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is there like any artist that you wanted to work with or still want to work with that you have not worked with?
Sure, of course. I think there's always going to be artists who it's like you'd love to collab and work with.
Mm.
Um, yeah, for sure. I would say that there's an artist who would have been on that list, and it's not out yet because I'm right now working on finishing up the album that is like current. It should be out in the next couple months, but
Okay.
um Havoc produced a track for me and
Fire.
on this album, and that was surreal. That would have been someone who I would have said,
That's fire.
absolutely, I would that's a yeah, like that's a dream collaboration, and it happened, and that's a testament to who he is. I
Yeah.
mean, because he's an icon, he's a legend in hip hop, and so to be able to work with him and for him to be open enough to collaborate, it speaks to who he is
Yeah.
as an artist,
Nah, big hand
as
claps for Havoc, man. Big
Yeah.
hand
yeah,
claps.
he lives this. Yeah, he's not like he was so approachable and cool and just wonderful and warm, and he's still practicing, both as practicing just meaning his craft, like still continuing to work, not practicing like he got to get better. He's already proven that. I just mean like an artist is always evolving, and so he's about that evolution. He's about community through his craft, and I respect that so much, because some people have attained a certain level, and the idea of collaboration is far-fetched, if at all even something you could fathom. And you would think, because of how much work he's put in, that he might be one of those artists who's like, yo, hands off, you can't even approach. It was the complete opposite. He's so hip-hop that it was like, yeah, no doubt, let's work.
Nah, that's
And so there's
fire.
That's
so much
amazing.
That's
respect for
another.
him.
That's fire. That's fire.
Amazing, amazing as an MC, as an artist, and as someone who's about forward movement through this craft and this culture. So he's really dope. Shout out to Havoc.
Nah, that's dope. That's dope. All right, we have 6 minutes left. Time
Let's get it.
flies when we're
When you're having
fun.
fun.
I'm trying to tell you. Like, I feel like we just started the conversation and it was like, oh, look at that. Fun's over. Bye. Get back to work.
Oh my god.
No, but
Always, that's always the mission.
so the last question was, what is your role at the Universal Hip Hop Museum? Um, and then obviously, if we can have you give out your social media handles, so people can hit you up, listen to your music, all that good stuff.
Sure. So
Oh,
just for clarity's sake, I'm not at the Universal Hip Hop Museum. I have worked with them in
okay,
collaboration with curriculum based stuff, but that's not where I am. I'm actually at the Hip Hop Education Center, two different places, but we definitely have worked together on numerous occasions,
Okay.
and there's still, collaborations. But yes, so I'm at the Hip Hop Education Center. Again, Martha Diaz is the founder, chief curator over there, and my role is chief curriculum officer. So just focusing on curriculum, how to connect curriculum with what we do, infusing hip hop, archiving, documenting history, all the elements, expression. There's so many different ways that you can play with curriculum, and we do play with curriculum in our relationships and partnerships. So whether it's providing workshops, doing panel discussions, things that are always, always going to come back to hip hop and education. That's my main role, is curriculum, education, things of that nature in relation to the organization.
Got it. Please give your social media handles. Por
Yes, no
favor.
doubt. No doubt. So at the Queen Heroin, it's spelled again Herawin, like Nancy. I feel like I'm on a call, So yeah, at the Queen Heroin. You can also reach me at the Juggernauts. You can reach me there as well. Juggaknots. You can also reach me at the Hip Hop Education Center. And those are all the IG platforms that are reachable for myself or someone on the team, depending on who you're looking for, what you're looking to collaborate on.
No, that's fire. That's fire. Big shout out to all the people that joined us
Yes,
on Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, of course. My host today, the lovely, the wonderful, the
yes,
amazing Brittany. Please give
yes,
them
yes.
your social.
My handle. So it's Brittany Alexandra, 2X's 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so excited for your journey. I'm telling you, like, I really, really hope and I'm praying that you are in a lot of colleges, because I'm just telling you from experience. I took a class my senior year. I'm going to make it quick, but it was Beatles and music of the 60s. And I was like, this is a music class? I'm like, oh, this is going to be cake. And it was very enlightening. We didn't really take any notes, but we were listening to music. And I remember we got into social injustices at the time. Like, we went into history. It was great. And I'm like, when are we going to cover James Brown? All that? Like, when can we go into that side? And there just wasn't enough time in the semester, but I had a great teacher, and I brought it up to him, and he said, hopefully in the future there will be some kind of a hip hop class, like, and it needs to be. And I remember, because there's only about 2 of us chocolate girls in there, and I was like, this would be great if we were talking about hip hop. Like, I would not be hungover right now because I'm in college. But let me tell you something. I'm very excited to see where you take everything. It's exciting.
We appreciate that. Yeah, it needs to be more and more. We're just going to keep pushing, and people want it because they're now starting
100%.
to finally see the value.
It's 2023. Dang it.
Right.
Like,
Well, some people saw it, but not enough, So now I
Yeah.
think, especially with the 50, people are starting to really push and getting like, oh, desperate, almost like, yeah, let's get on that too. Yeah, bring some of that hip hop
100%.
education over here too. So for whatever the reason, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Definitely going to keep pushing forward. And I appreciate y'all for having me on.
Nah,
and,
we appreciate you for joining us. We're excited. It's funny you mentioned. That was weird. Mentioned Martha Diaz. I actually met her. She had gotten an award for something she did with HBO, some kind of documentary, and it was the night that I opened up for KRS-One in Brooklyn.
Wow.
Yeah,
Dope.
you should see me. I'm
Dope.
like 167 pounds, looking super young with like a bedazzled shirt. Yeah,
We need
Exciting,
photos.
I gotta find them. I know I have
Yeah.
photos somewhere. I definitely have photos somewhere. Lord
Yeah,
knows,
she's
but
an
like,
icon. She's a straight legend in the hip hop game.
yeah,
Well
she was
respected.
very, very, very warm. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
she was very,
Mhm.
very.
Yeah.
Oh, you did a good job. Thank you so much for coming out.
That's
like,
my-
yeah,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It
definitely.
wasn't like,
More people need to see that. Yeah, more people
it
need
wasn't
to see
like,
that.
all right, you think you big, goodbye. Goodbye.
Dismissed.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
nothing
no,
like, it was really genuine. You could tell when somebody was like, no, you did a good job. Da, 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 da. You know, like I had learned a lot from that experience because like, you know, I came out there singing and it was like a slow song and everybody was like, bro, do you know where you're at? You know what I mean? Like this is a rap event. You out here singing love songs. Fuck you doing? So it made me get into like,
It was an usher.
well, that's the crazy thing. So I started getting into like more upbeat dance hallish, you know what I mean? And so when I come out now, I haven't performed in centuries, but when I do, it's a different kind of vibe. It's yo, put that hand in the ear, yo. You think so? Give me, yo.
You can never go wrong with that. You can never
mean?
go wrong with that. And the air horn. That and the air horn, you can never go wrong with that.
Never.
So, but nah, we really appreciate you, you know, taking the time to come out here. Mike Vincent, yo, proud of you too, bro. It's a mutual thing. Thank you for tuning in, man. Yo, you never by the way, first and foremost, as you see, I'm wearing one of my varsity jackets. I want to give a special shout out to Mike, who's on the joining in from YouTube. He's a male nurse in Florida. So on his varsity jacket, he put Merce with the EKG in the heart. Fire. So I want to say, Mike,
That's
thank
amazing.
you for, you know, trusting Unscripted Entertainment to do your embroidery and all that good stuff. I appreciate you guys so much. The Queen herself, I thank you. So with that being said, please remember, you are loved, you are valued, you can do whatever you set your mind to. As long as you believe it, you can achieve it. I'm here with my host, Brittany. This is the Unscripted Podcast. All talk. And we are out of here.